Enterprise Guard here with my friend Josh Olswich. Hey, Josh.
Brian, good to be with you.
Great to be with you. And it's happy days for those of us bullish the crypto coins.
It's hard to not make money right now.
Yeah.
I think if you're listening to Doomer, I think it was Bobby. He tweeted out this great meme today, like Squidward looking at SpongeBob and Patrick partying outside the window, where he
yeah.
He, not Bobby, but he, Squidward, is like listening to Macro Doomer podcasts, you know?
Yeah, it's dangerous. It's dangerous to be a bear for too long.
Yeah, I think you can have a long-term view, a short-term view, a mid-term view, but don't let that prevent you from doing anything. Like, don't let it paralyze you and thinking, oh, the economy, Biden, Trump, blah, blah, blah. Like, whoever it is that's telling you this stuff in your ear. Like, look, we're up, what, 130% on Bitcoin this year?
I have some business relationships in my hometown, and unfortunately, some of them know that I have a career in crypto.
You're a celebrity.
No, they don't necessarily know that I have a significant public presence, but they have you know what is they know I'm into Bitcoin or whatever, you know, like, and I'm like, I don't even own a Bitcoin.
That is pathetic.
Yeah, it is
pathetic.
I own some Bito, some futures.
All right,
does that count?
Not really, but we'll give you a pass.
It's not my keys. Anyway, so like they're kind of like, oh yeah, you know, you guys are down bad, and I'm like, well, I don't know, my asset class is up over 100% this year. How's yours doing? It's like, what, really? It's getting better? It's like, yeah. This is what's great about crypto bear markets is everyone forgets every time.
Well, it happens so fast. By the time people realize what's going on, you know, we're up 100% on the year, and they're like, what? Like, you're not dead, right? Like, I haven't had anybody. Just today, actually, I had one of my relatives text me. I know. So be careful. But I haven't had anybody say anything about anything. It's just crazy, you know?
Yeah. It's great. It's the best time to be in this space is when the frothy FOMO money is out.
Yeah, we survived the bear. We slogged through it, trading chart pattern to chart pattern.
Yeah, that's not to say we're advocating for up only and nothing else. It's just to say that there's opportunity here.
Barely feeding ourselves.
When the volatility arises, that's when we're happy campers.
I think everybody's just happy stuff's moving.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I'll take either direction, but obviously better that it's up.
Yeah, I don't love when it's down. Although back when you and I talked about this a ton when it occurred, it's like that 6K breakdown back in 2018. I was relieved when it finally just broke down. Now I would have been more relieved if it broke up, but just to get out of this was awesome.
At that point,
you can do stuff.
Yeah, I distinctly remember living through that. It was miserable.
Yeah, and so volatility is better than non-volatility for traders,
right?
Active market participants, and that's what we have here. We had going into October. March to October was basically just no man's land trade range. Most of the recovery was from January to March. So good spring. Carpe Noctem seasonality for the win again, right? Q1 on the move, Q2 and Q3 freaking boring, Q4 on the move. Good for you. Good for you, Josh.
Yeah, I mean, Q4, October, November, Thanksgiving, super spreader event in crypto land, Bitcoin specifically. Get ready, because that's coming. So it looks good. People are starting to wake up to the fact that, hey, we have actually done extremely well in a non-correlated fashion, really. Like, what do we even correlate it to this year? Not much. Because I just checked S&P, the Qs, gold, TLT. We aren't really correlated to any of that anymore in a big way.
All right, Josh. So there's a couple things I see that I want your opinions on. Number one is there's some sneaky potential. I'm just looking at lines, weekly closes. historical weekly closes, and then I want you to
That's
tell
the
me how
best
does
TA.
it align? How does it align with Joshua's various like obscure math things like pivots? All right. So
Pivots aren't obscure. They're just
I'm just saying.
They're just math.
But you gotta work a little harder to see them. All right. So this little level that we're at, this sub 40, high 30s, well, maybe a sneaky resistance, but the one I really have my eyes on is up here at 47K, what I would call the breakdown, right? Like I always like those where what was the start of the trend that was then, 12 or 14 weeks of down only. I wanted to see 47. I could see some pausing here. How does this compare to what you're looking at?
It makes sense. Before I comment on that, I will say the events that led to that, right? It was first Luna buying and then Luna selling that broke us down. It was also the first rate hike was
Luna buying was basically just that 2 weeks before we died, right?
Well, they were buying
all in that. Yeah.
They were buying earlier, right? I think.
Yeah.
Anyway, but the first rate hike and then Luna selling Bitcoin, I think, are the two important events that actually caused all this. But yeah, 47 makes a lot of sense. The other thing though that I would point to is VPVR levels. So the cloud likes 42.5.
Is that the top of the cloud?
That's the top of the weekly cloud. Volume profile shows like 39 and 47 as better resistance levels. And then you've got the pitchfork, which depending on when we hit those levels, 42 would make sense, 47 in April. But by the end of the year, 42 makes sense. Literally January 1 is the top of the pitchfork.
You know what I could imagine? I could imagine a weekly wick up to 46, 47, that red line that I showed. Yeah. And then your weekly close back inside that cloud, like a nice little like wick through the cloud.
Yeah, I agree. I think when we get that inevitable ETF approval for Bitcoin, we will see a candle we've never seen. and then much like 2019,
like that candle, we remember that.
Everybody gets super bullish at the top of the weekly cloud, and inevitably, like that's what way after the move happened, right? You just missed the 300% move, and then you're all. It's not you, but people.
Yeah.
Also happened in 2016. Yeah. Same thing.
Overshoot. We're overshooters.
Yeah. So I could easily see that 47 level get hit, and then just get smacked way down. And that's when the macro doomer people come out and say, I told you so. Bitcoin is bearish. It's not going anywhere. That's when they take their victory lap.
I bought treasuries and have made 4% interest this year while you doubled your money.
Or tripled. Yeah. So I think that makes sense, even relative to having those dates. Pre-halving, we don't typically continue. Now the ETF may change things a little bit there, but I doubt it. I think it's going to take time for the ETF to come online, for the salespeople to sell it, right? I think it's going to take a little bit of time. So where we are relative to the weekly cloud also makes sense relative to having, in that expect things to get super volatile pre-halving, and then we typically start our slow ascent higher on the weekly.
Tell me how excited you are for ETH to go to 2,500.
I think that's a low target. I mean, 29 is the level. So I'm ready. I've got my close orders already on the books at 3K. That's how confident I am.
There you go. I just look at this weekly candle here that it's already tested, and it looks like the type of candle that we may sit here for a couple more days, and then next week you go and hit the next zone, which is 2,500 for me, 3,500 after that.
I just wish I had a device that could change not the trajectory, but flip between the why am I blanking on this? The timelines. Flip between the timelines where ETH never got an ETF announcement. Right? Does ETH actually move? Because I don't think it does.
Oh, it does.
I don't think it does. It
does.
Not,
the news helps the chart do what the chart wants to do, or something.
Let me rewind it a little bit.
Confucius said that.
it moves eventually. I don't think it moves as
that
soon
quickly.
as it moves.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Let me pull it up. Sorry.
It was scripted on ETH BTC. I'm just saying.
Well, are they looking at that? Kind of a funny timing on their period or their part to announce that right when ETH BTC is ready to fall off a cliff. I still think it does fall off a cliff, simply again because of flows. Are they going to approve the ETH ETF the same time they approve the BTC ETF? Probably not.
I think the flow differential could make that a challenge. Like, it was not priced into ETH that the ETF for ETH would be anywhere near the same time frame as BTC. That's clear.
Yeah.
But if both are approved, which one captures the majority of those passive flows? It's got to be BTC by a long shot.
Yeah. I think the crypto native crowd loves ETH. They understand ETH. They get what it's for. I think the institutional folks, that's a much harder sell for them personally. I think if you get RWA attached to ETH a little bit more in a bigger way, or whatever the narrative, then you'll have something to sell. But when you're talking about any of the other comparable metrics versus Bitcoin, I think it's harder to get a large majority of institutional folks on board there. They'll understand that Bitcoin and ETH are important in a portfolio, perhaps for exposure. They'll want 70% Bitcoin, 30% ETH, or something like that, maybe 60-40 even. But to outright sell ETH, I think is tough. I'm saying that from experience. Bitcoin, to sell Bitcoin to an institutional crowd is tough, but then to try to explain ETH is another animal. So I think it'll take time, but I think as a group, the institutional crowd understands like Bitcoin and ETH probably aren't going anywhere. So good for ETH, right? Good for ETH. You had all the ETH maxis finally waking up saying, "Oh, told you so." This is a funny time.
I don't know, man. The best I told you so's out there are the Solana manlets. Well deserved. Well deserved. Soylana manlets. Is that the meme?
Is Bankless? Are they in disbelief here? What's going
on? No, I don't know.
Real quick, someone's asking about my VPVR. If you just search VRVP, they changed the name, I don't know, a couple months back. It'll pull it up. Also,
with that, I think you have to have a pro subscription to use it, but whatever.
Yeah.
I had this old tweet on my Sol ETH chart. Look at this. Kyle Samani telling Ryan Adams, let's bet on Sol ETH price end of year 2021 versus 2022. And it went down. Shoot, that was the Pico bottom. It went down 83%. Let's check on it, Kyle. We already stomped on Kyle for that. I'm sorry, Kyle. You're having your revenge right now, buddy, assuming Multicoin didn't sell all of theirs. Look at this. Look
it's funny.
6 months, 200% relative to ETH. Wow. Just going bananas the last few weeks.
Well, a comment about those funds, unless they gated their withdrawals in some way, they may have had to have sold stuff like this to give people back their money or whatever. I don't actually know. I don't have any color there, but why is Sol up so much? I couldn't tell you.
Sol is up so much because it has a dedicated community of
don't give me that nonsense.
Developers and bunkers.
Don't give me that nonsense. Come on.
Do you know how many people said the words bonk or derivatives to me when I was asking about what are the projects in Solana land doing cool stuff? It was all bonk. It was like 10,000 bonk people in my mentions. And granted, bonk has mooned, but I was like, do we have anything other than meme coins? Like, we need more than meme coins. Memes are good. Memes can work, but I'd rather target some others. I got a couple ideas that I need to dig into. I haven't looked at any of the charts, but maybe some of the DEX stuff or some of the Solana perps. I don't know.
I'll give you my dark horse alt for this cycle in a second. But
wait a second. I don't text it to me. I gotta buy. What is it?
It's a Radium, but
don't even know what that is.
It's a Solana DEX, I believe. Anyway, yeah, I don't know why Solana is up, other than relative value, other than it's the most hated non-consensus trade, whatever. Like, get the heck out of here with that nonsense. I don't know. I don't get it personally, but I'm glad I have some. And that's all I have to say.
What
I
I
don't know
like
why.
about it is it had this zone. It spent a lot of time in that zone. Most of this is all fake FTX price action up here. Bubble Eiffel Tower. And then it's just like, screw that zone. That's what it's saying today. It's that irrelevant. Off we go. $54. Is this what's the ceiling here, Josh? 80?
Well, it's certainly making the
135?
The FTX estate happy that it's easy to sell that into that strength, right?
Yeah, for the sake of FTX creditors, if the bankruptcy people don't screw it up, I am happy. Could it hit one of these lines? Is that the future range of Solana consolidation, somewhere in there?
66 is a yearly pivot. 78, like you're pointing to, is a good breakdown horizontal from.
I can use horizontal rays. I don't have to actually draw squiggles on that. Yeah, somewhere in there. New targets, new thick red lines, right here, somewhere in here. I like that 79. I think that's cute. Imagine the Solana.
I don't know, like, who's buying this. I don't know. I couldn't tell you. Is it just because the volume isn't
being forced to buy? Who was short?
I guess, but the volume isn't picking up that much on Binance. I haven't heard people talking about Solana projects. I haven't seen. I just couldn't tell you.
The cloud aligns with that other line perfectly. That 138.
Yeah, cloud likes 138. There's a yearly pivot at 124.
Do you know how I'm rooting for this because I will not earn a ton off of it. I have a little bit of exposure, but
Brian, it's up 20% today. 20%.
We need this. We need people to win so that we can all win. This is the hot ball of money needs to be formed so that it can then roll.
Needs to gather. There's this old, what is it, N64 game, Katamari Damacy. People who know will know what I'm talking about. Where there's this, like, you slowly pick up objects as you roll around and you form this mass. It's a super fun game.
Isn't that a Street Fighter thing too? The guy that goes like this and it like forms the blue ball of fire.
Just stop. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what stops this train because I don't know what's feeding it. I think at this point, are people really still shorting it? Maybe. The target on whatever the consolidation was, well hit. It's reconsolidated twice and continued at this point. This is the third drive, so I'd be careful up here. Daily RSI was in Infinityville, 88. That's not to say you can't get it like a div leg higher to 60 or something, 66, but I don't know. I couldn't tell you who's buying this thing or why. No idea.
Hey, can you do me a favor since you got the cloud up?
Yeah.
I'm just asking, should we be looking at ADA?
Yeah. So
I don't like it. I just wonder.
Quick plug for the YouTube channel, youtube.com/CarpenOctum. I've been talking about ADA for the past couple of weeks because it looks really good.
I'm looking at the weekly chart. I didn't put the cloud on it yet, but
before we get to ADA, let me just mention the 29 again for ETH. That's the weekly cloud. It's also the yearly pivot is at 31. So I like this as a pivot to pivot trade for ETH. That's nothing new. We've talked about that for like the past year, but
maybe buy the support on the previous, also the bottom of the cloud if it comes back to
there. Anything below 2K, I think, is a buy on ETH at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah, ADA looks great, sadly. Like I said with Doge, some of this stuff.
Oh, look at that. Adam and Eve, cloud. The 200 week on ADA is at 65 cents, which is kind of in the beginning of that cloud move.
Unfortunately, this stuff's listed.
Go to the weekly cloud. Go to the weekly cloud. I hate the daily cloud. Sorry.
He hates the daily cloud.
He hates the daily cloud. Weekly double cloud is a beautiful thing. Get that big wall of red.
Yes. So what, 38 to 169?
Yeah, let's go. I like that. I hate it, actually. Imagine Charles Hoskinson. He's going to get like 10 Falcons if that happens.
How many years has this chain been around and done nothing? How many years?
A
You
lot.
tell me.
A lot.
2017 was the listing. It was around before then. Do you hear anything about ADA from anybody? I don't.
No, I don't. But they're out there. There's believers out there. I hope this stuff doesn't really do that. I was just curious because I saw this.
No, you're right though.
I saw the same double bottom forming. Like this looks like Solana looked before it broke out. I don't know.
Don't get me wrong. The TA looks phenomenal for all this stuff. I just hate it because it makes no sense and it shouldn't. Not because I'm a maxi on Bitcoin. It doesn't deserve it. What did it do?
The problem is like we go every time we go through some years in crypto and we're like, maybe this time we've learned something. And then it happens and it's like it turns out we did not. Like everything was the same again.
Yeah, I don't know who would be buying this either, other than just people rotating around and trading it, right? I don't think people are buying this because they believe in Cardano. That's what I'm trying to say. They're buying it like us because we think it has a what is this? 300% move potentially, right?
All right, I need you to look up one more chart because I hope TradingView will show it to you like it just did to me. Can you please type in Doge?
Yeah,
and see if you get the animation.
Oh, USD?
Sure. Your TradingView doesn't have Easter eggs.
Well, I think it does. It's just I've seen it already and I X'd it out.
It popped up this Doge animation that went like this. Did a little dance. I was tweeting at Kaleo because he was talking about the inevitability of Doge pumping, and I was like, brother, for the sake of our industry, we do not want Doge to pump. Like, we really don't.
It looks great, right? Like, look, from technical perspective,
it looks like it's based for a long time.
For the first time in over a year for a lot of this stuff, it's finally making a higher high instead of a lower low. So
but sure. This has to have more retail pain in it than any other coin, right?
I would assume. Anything on Robinhood, including Cardano, has a lot of retail pain.
So hopefully those people will be like, oh my gosh, this thing that I bought at 70 cents is back to 10. I'm going to sell. I'm going to capture something. Like,
I don't think they're looking at it. I think they're worried about how they're going to put dinner on the table. I don't think they're looking at Robinhood.
All right.
The resistance on this would be like 10 cents. But it doesn't look horrible. All these charts have some sort of double bottom. If we look at like the total 3, let me find it real quick. This thing, the total 3 market cap index, whatever you want to think of it as.
Yeah.
Like it had this double bottom. It's
Peter Brandt rectangle head and shoulders moon season.
It's at a good spot. You can thank Solana, you can thank Link, you can thank Aave, you can thank Bitcoin.
I need to sell after I do this because I'm not just showing you, I'm showing whatever, 224 people.
That's double our usual, by the way.
No, it's not. We usually have about 150.
Okay. Well, I'm euphoric.
Thank you all for being here. But you say people are not looking at Robinhood. I am. I never had a Robinhood account until this year. I opened it in, I think, the beginning of February because my Flip co-founder, Sam, told me I needed to try their onboarding experience. So I did, and I put $2,000 in there. It's November 10th, and guess what, Josh?
You got $1,000?
It hit $6,000 today.
Oh, really?
Trading is easy.
What's
3x, no leverage. Boomer Robinhood.
What were you sitting in? Legacy or crypto?
Things that you can buy on Robinhood. No, it was all, I think I owned over the course of the year. Now, I could have just done the very first trade, nothing else, and outperformed what I've done for real. Because I bought with the $2,000, I bought NVIDIA. Like $100.
There you go.
So I could have done better. But I'm just saying, even making bad decisions, it's still 6K, 3x. Trading is easy.
I think not all people agree. I think time in the market beats timing the market. Not all people agree.
Well, my thing with Nvidia is I think I made like 50 or 60% in 2 weeks, and I was like, okay, good trade. What's next? Rather than just like riding the AI train and then I oopsied it.
Well, that was my. Sorry, go ahead.
That's fine. I think I had Coinbase for a while. It's in ETH right now because I was playing that spread trade. So the spread trade's been real good to me.
Well, ETH looks great.
It does look great.
One thing I was going to say about Sol, for me, my weakness is I'll play this level to level setup. It'll be great, but then I won't revisit the chart or keep paying attention to it. And that's what happened for me on Sol. It was a great re-long at 33 when it broke up, but I just didn't take it. Just wasn't paying attention.
Are we having a cope fest?
For me, looking at the imaginary unrealized profits in that trade, yes, definitely a cope fest. But you know,
speaking of stuff we talked about, and then boy, how did it do? Link, I know you bought this. I used it as a proxy, but I didn't actually own this one. But broke out of a multi-year rectangle consolidation and $8 to $15 in the matter of 4 weeks. Congrats, Marines.
Yeah, Link similar to Sol. It doesn't feel. I mean, I guess you could say it's more justified for Sol or Link because it's consolidated for so long. It's just a lot super quick, you know.
It's beautiful. I mean, I like it.
The weekly cloud.
Slam it.
30. I don't think we get to 30. It's a 2x from here. So
I would.
Here's my issue. When I see charts like this, I just assume there's going to be pain and devastation, and it's going to have a 50% pullback on a week, right?
Yeah. Well, the thing is, people probably sold it too early on the breakout, and now they're sad. And then it's going to go higher than they expect, and then it's going to consolidate for another year. But if you can time that trade and make that trade, then it's pretty awesome. It moved faster than I would have expected. I'll say that. And I would have thought it might stop at like 1350, 13. So it's overshot a little bit what I would personally seek.
Again, the volume on Binance, not that that's like, you know, the golden metric, but volume on Binance here is not what I'd expect. I'd expect volumes to be picking up.
You know what I think could be beneficial here? Because the season that we may be in here is where you create some pain on a daily basis. Like we might wake up to a bloody Monday, a 20% down day on alts where Bitcoin goes down like 3%, you know, something like that. And that would be a good buying opportunity. If you have a portfolio where you have some assets that you can make flexible, perhaps it's a good time to put 20, 25, 30% of your portfolio into stables to be able to take advantage of the easy opportunities, the big nasty days that are going to make you have a gut check if you're fully deployed with nothing to do when that happens. It would give you something to do in that case and feel like you're winning. 60 or 70% of your portfolio might still be in those positions, but you can do something on those days. Feels like that's not a terrible idea right now. Maybe I'll take my own advice. I'm pretty well deployed right now, but maybe I throw some stables out there.
To me, it feels like on the Bitcoin side, people are waiting, including myself, for the spot ETF approval.
The big candle.
I'd rather risk the downside here than miss risking the upside, if that makes sense.
That's why I've been carrying those BitTo calls, the Bitcoin futures ETF calls, because I feel like that gives me some exposure to the upside for Bitcoin.
So we do have seasonality on our side, trend obviously, but everyone's waiting for a news event, and then the next news event would be the actual launch of the product, or an approval of an ETH product, or the announcement of a Solana ETF, which I don't
I
think
don't think that's going to happen because they have more SEC issues going on.
they do, but so did ETH to some degree. Now they do have
No, ETH wasn't even close.
they do have a spot, futures ETF.
Yeah.
The reason I mentioned Sol is if you look at the Grayscale list of stuff, by size, ETC is the next. I don't think that's getting an ETF. LTC, I don't think so. BCH, I don't think so. Zcash, XLM, Decentraland, Zen, and then Sol. Those are all bigger than the Solana Trust, which is very, very tiny.
Why would we discount some of the old coins with fewer securities issues like Litecoin or Bitcoin Cash?
I just feel like there wouldn't be an appetite for that. If
I do think it'd be nice to go to market with Bitcoin and ETH and see how it goes.
Sure. I don't think they'll get launched at the same time, like we talked about, but
yeah. Hey, we got a question. You're talking about stuff launching.
Yeah.
Tanks90 asked, why is FTX's token FTT pumping like this?
Oh man.
And it's because they're in the final stages of these bids to relaunch the exchange. People are bidding to relaunch the FTX exchange, and that's why FTT is for some reason attached to that. This is hysterical. $1 to $4.
I haven't looked at this chart in a long time.
Does the bankruptcy group also own this? I assume so. Like, they have to have a ton.
They do, yeah.
They should be dumping on people's faces. Do they have flexibility to do that, to like liquidate this stuff, or do they have to get approvals? Or
I feel like they already have the approvals they need, and they're just sending it to OTC.
There's real opportunity for them to capture value for these creditors. I hope they do.
Somebody had mentioned on Twitter, by the time we see the on-chain evidence of the FTX estate moving coins, it's already sold. So it's not like that's a signal. It's a good indicator that they're moving this stuff, which is good, but that's pretty gross.
I'm also being asked about Stargate. I'm a early investor in Layer Zero. I love Stargate. I'm super biased. I think the chart looks okay. It's done well also, but just, full disclosure, I have a vested stake in Stargate. Haven't sold any of the stuff that I've been that's vested already, if that helps.
I'm not going to use the phrase dead money, but it is range bound.
Yeah, no, it definitely is.
It's a good sign though that it's bouncing on this falling wedge thing. You know what actually has a great falling wedge right now is Disney. Disney has a phenomenal.
They had earnings today.
Phenomenal falling wedge.
On their earnings call, they talked about having done a study of their most valuable channels, and they were ABC, of course, the Disney Channel, and FX. No mention of ESPN. I found that very strange. They're thinking about letting go some of their lower performing channels, essentially offloading them to partner networks or something. I don't really know anything about Disney as a stock, but I think it got hit pretty hard, didn't it? As you show, but
yeah,
park revenue concerns or something
bouncing around. Yeah, it was everything. They were spending too much money on content. Parks were
political issues
down.
With the governor.
yeah, the political fighting. I don't know. I just like the pattern. I don't care about the company at all, but that looks good. I think Nvidia still has a eventual breakdown.
Yeah, go to February 1st on that. What price did I buy that at?
February 1st.
The bottom.
Yep.
Yeah, the breakout basically. I bought that Head and Shoulders. That's what it was. What was that price? 180?
188, yeah.
Yeah. So I could have done nothing and outperformed my 3 or 4 trades that I made on Robinhood. Our Johnny calls that a HNSGFY.
There's a lot of things this could end up being. It's not a great diamond top at this point. It's not a great Head and Shoulders, but I do think this eventually breaks down. It's just going to take some time. Now
That
I
also
sound
sounds
like
hope.
I was going to say I sound like one of those
Crypto capo. Yeah, where's your 1,000-word monologue in Telegram complaining about why the number went up? You pay attention to an industry every day, and yet you were bearish at the bottom.
Yeah, I don't understand those people personally, but
Yeah. Why pay attention to an industry if all you're going to do is be bearish when there's real opportunity on the table?
it is very silly. What else we got? Legacy. We can talk about DXY.
Yeah, I want to talk a little macro stuff. The dollar bounced off support on a weekly basis after a terrible week last week. I think that's worth watching.
Yeah, we don't
flagging, hinting at consolidation.
Again, the problem is like you might think things are bad here, but globally things are way worse.
Yeah,
Eurozone way worse. The UK, Germany way worse. So that's going to help keep DXY higher because it's like index relative to those other currencies.
We're the best. We're the best bad government.
We are the best piece of shit on the planet. Unfortunately, for DXY. So theoretically, that should provide a headwind here for risk for crypto. Doesn't seem to be really being a headwind, even bouncing here. I do think this wants to break down to 103 though,
which would be very good for us.
Yeah, that'd be huge. Oil, by the way, broke way down.
Yeah, we got a question about that, about what you meant about oil is in a recession, or I'm interpreting, but were you indicating on Twitter that oil is indicating that we are in a recession?
Yeah, so I'm just a macro LARPer, number one. Just remember that for everybody. But I was saying, look, we're in two wars. There's a war in the Middle East, and oil is just cannot catch a bid.
Yeah, that's not good.
and OPEC is still cutting. So like they're restricting supply, and this thing just cannot.
All of that is potential signal that we're already in a recession.
Right. So I said, if demand is that bad in everything that's going on, like what's this trying to tell you,
I think we actually are in the US in a demand destruction environment pretty severely. But a lot of the reporting of that is quite lagging. This is a completely arbitrary thing, but a friend of mine, this through the grapevine a little bit, but a contractor had subs calling him, basically saying, "Hey, do you have any work?" And that had not happened in 10 years. So I think like maybe some of these service industries, some of the things where they've been busy and backlogged, and there was no reason to do good communication, they could charge anything, and now all of a sudden they're sweating it a little bit. Maybe lead times on business are going down. Those are really strong signs, arbitrary or not, that there's less demand, inflation rearing its head in a different way, right?
Yeah, it seems like to me things are slowing down, but all that's fed into my ear every day, all day, is macro doomer. So it's hard to like gauge the severity of any of it,
I still think it's more stagflation than like deflationary, fully deflationary. I think stagflation is still the name of the day, name of the game. Sorry. But prices could go up, and yet the demand is just not there,
Well, who can finance anything right now? Credit cards are at 25%, auto loans are at 10%. That's if you have good credit.
Who's really struggling to finance things is banks. Like banks just don't want to take on new debt if their current debt within that industry is at risk.
Yeah, I've been watching the regional banks. Usually days that were up the most is when regional banks are all red on my list, which is interesting. But this chart doesn't look particularly happy. This is the regional banking ETF.
Have you heard about the combination, but like especially the housing and office markets in San Francisco? This kind of combines, an area that went crazy for a long time, huge bubble on real estate values, on tech values, And as tech has slowed and as other, crime issues have occurred, whatever is going on in San Francisco, like there's these massive discounts on the big tech office buildings downtown San Francisco that are going for 25% of what they were valued at like 5 years ago.
Yeah,
and
I've been seeing it a lot more of that. Yeah.
Housing reaching levels that go back to like 2012, 2015 values, like basically just arising out of the Great Recession. Like that's rough. Like San Francisco is definitely in a recession, like
Yeah.
even if it's not nationwide. Maybe Texas is doing okay, but not everywhere is doing okay.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of mean reverting going on in a lot of these previously hot real estate markets. I think Miami's probably doing okay, but Arizona was another one that was creeping up on the list as far as like housing prices declining. But yeah, there's a lot of anecdotal commercial real estate stuff starting to bubble up where nobody wants to buy this stuff because they can't fill it. They know they can't fill it. People aren't going back to work, to the office.
I think it's actually creating opportunities personally. Like I think there are you do reach a point on some of them where it becomes a good price. But I don't know.
Would you want to live or work in San Francisco?
No. I'm just saying it affects more than just the undesirable ones. Like the undesirable ones that traded up are bad, but it's also affecting the more desirable ones that are still good products that are also being affected in value or being affected by rates or whatever, getting, they're having to hand their buildings back. And I think that creates opportunities and deals. I do agree. Scrutinizer in the chat said tech will bounce back. I think it will too. It's just the mean reversion, creates an Eiffel Tower moment from a value perspective, and it might take a while. Tech's not dead. Like growth in America is not dead.
A lot of it is super illiquid too. So the true price of a lot of this stuff, like we don't really know yet.
Oh yeah.
So that's just coming to light now.
I look at commercial real estate a lot in my state. There's like, I don't know, $30 generals that went for sale, which are historically, considered great credit tenants or whatever. So they trade expensive, like it could be a crappy building in the middle of nowhere that's super expensive because Dollar General has this long lease, and people are trying to sell them because they bought them with low rates, and now with rates increasing, the values of the buildings are way down, and things like that create pressures in the market, and it's rate driven with an economy backdrop that can play a role as well. So anyway.
Yeah, we've yet to see that unfold, and that's going to hit the banks because the banks hold a lot of those properties as through mortgages or loans or whatever. Right?
And hence they don't have much of a desire to do new lending because they're looking at all that stuff.
There have been people for months talking about a TARP-like bailout program for commercial real estate, and I sincerely hope that does not happen. These are the same people, by the way, who are worried about the U.S. debt, but anytime that they need to bail out, they're ready to ask for it.
Yeah. Honestly, you need those people to experience a little bit of pain.
I do think it needs to be cleansed. Or else, what are we doing here? Capitalism for thee, but not for me. That's what we're saying here. We're saying socialism's okay to bail me out, Ledger. Okay, but everybody else, they can starve. I want that government handout. That's what people are saying. I'm sick of it.
I wouldn't mind a couple of good deals on commercial real estate, so that's fine. ETH BTC, let's get to it in a second, but we did have a question. I want to honor it. Dingy Loop asked about comp. Can we look at comp first? Because we looked at a bunch of alts, and we'll use comp as our DeFi stand-in of the week.
Yeah, I think a lot of DeFi looks okay. It's just okay.
Yeah.
The problem is a lot of the DeFi stuff is it was down so much. And now you've got people like just hoping to get back into close to break even. It just looks okay. It's still, you could argue, look, Link ranged for a year plus and broke out. Maybe comp will have its turn. I don't see comp having as big of a following, but again, if they tap into some sort of narrative, some sort of multi-chain RWA, blah, 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 then maybe. But
Ron, whose bags are full, asked, why am I honoring some questions rather than others? I guess I'm looking for the ones that I think are good questions. And I'm not seeing all of them. So sorry if I missed one.
How dare you, Ledger?
Yeah.
How dare you? On your own podcast, you don't answer every question.
Well, Ron did say earlier, I was like, oh, I'm invested in this. And by the way, they're my friends. And then he's like, oh, they're scammers. So, maybe you got a little bit of punishment there, Ron.
I think there are a ton of alt charts that have a W double bottom, where if you believe in it and you think it's a cycle bottom, we said this last week, I think, right? Just go for it. Not investment advice, but like what is there to min max here if you think this is a cycle bottom on comp? Your stop loss is new lows, and that's it. You just sit in it. People hate that answer, but that's what I'm gonna tell people. Even something like Curve that has tons of baggage,
so much baggage.
People buying
OTC deals.
Yeah.
Yeah, Curve's tricky. Like, it still has inflation through V curve and stuff, right? So if you're gonna do it, you might as well do it for a while and go earn some of that yield because other people are. Curve's one of those ecosystems where it's like the gigabrain flow chart of yield, and it's hard for me to follow. And I tried. I've done that. I've done a cycle of Curve and Convex and Vodium and all the stuff, and it was fine. But I'm not like super enthused about it.
I think because of the issuance stuff, it's tough for a lot of DeFi to without a serious bid to really turn it around.
Someone whose name I can't pronounce, I'm just going to call him Mink, says, let's do a brainstorming session on new shiny coins without bag holders. And I think that's a legitimate thing. And if it's a new cycle type of mentality, like any old coin, Sushi is what you show now, they do have baggage, like bag holders and their baggage. And there's something to be said for fresh charts. And I am going to just acknowledge that I'm not good anymore at identifying what are the new shinies that are worth looking at, because it's hard for me sometimes to differentiate between like stuff that has extremely low vesting periods for somebody and or like fair launch, or did sketchy money raising schemes to get the token out there. And it's really hard for me to look at those and understand, like, what am I dealing with and am I willing to hold that? But I do like the idea of fresh charts if they're not coming out at $10 billion valuations.
Yeah, my issue with alts that people have been holding for years is like, are you expecting what is the expectations here, right? Like Zcash is a great example. Like, are you expecting this thing to magically turn around? I don't get it.
That might be the worst chart I've ever seen in my life.
I just, like, when do you say I was wrong, right? Like, when do you just throw in the towel and say enough's enough? And this is for any chart that looks like this. And Tezos is another great example.
Oh boy, I have not thought. The word Tezos has not gone through the folds of my brain in months.
I mean, this thing too, it's trying to bounce at all-time lows, but I just think most people are better served trading what has strength and has a pulse and has the tension and flows than worrying about like EOS BTC, for example, right? Like, who is trading this stuff? Look at this.
When Solana's on the move, you're probably just going to be better off riding that hype train than you are trying to predict something that's not even showing signs of basing, much less doing anything.
So there are just so many old alts that I don't think have a prayer. They'll have a couple of good days in a cycle. They'll have a week in a cycle, but they're not going anywhere.
A wise investor once said, "Laggards are losers."
There you go. Except ETH, that's a winner, right?
I'm not a wise investor, Josh.
All right.
I'm willing to to play the catch the bottom on a laggard game sometimes, even though I acknowledge that it's not the high confidence trade. Arbitrum and Optimism have been brought up in the chat. The layer 2 trade, if you will.
Yeah, I've had a lot of people ask.
Is this a midwit trade, Josh?
I don't have anything new to say because it's the same chart, right? It had a W double bottom. It was a cycle low. Who am I to say this thing can't go to 17? I don't know, right? Like, sure. I just feel like people are better off if this is a cycle bottom. People are better off just taking an allocation, shoving it in a bunch of this stuff, and seeing what happens. You know, that's what I would do. Pick your 10 favorites and go wild, and just let it do its thing.
I can't do that.
That's fair, but to me, that's easier than like trying to min max every 4-hour chart on all of these alts. I just think that's pain. That's pain.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. What do you think about Avalanche? That's a laggard, but it's doing things.
Yeah, the other Avalanche, Dot, Near, those are definitely starting to pick up a little bit. One thing I'll say about Optimism and Lido is very similar. Once ETH starts to take off, we may see some rotation into
ETH derivative.
The layer 2s.
ETH derivative beta, is that what we can call that?
Sure.
Optimism, Lido, Arbitrum.
I mainly just think these charts look similar to ETH. But yeah, once money is flowing into that ecosystem, I think those charts start to look better. AVAX, again, it's the same thing. You know, it had a W double bottom. If you're an AVAX maxi or whatever you want to call yourself, go for it. Who am I to stop you? You know?
The chart I kind of like on AVAX, and I don't have a position right now. I'm considering it, I guess. Maybe that's what I'm doing. Maybe I'm considering an AVAX position here. When I look at like AVAX BTC or AVAX ETH, it looks like a potential trend break while the US chart might be breaking out, or USD chart might be breaking out. That intrigues me. Weekly basis, couple of good candles. Maybe you get a good big shot type candle after that. Those are interesting. Those are interesting to me. I don't know if it's legit, but it's worth a look. This has worse baggage than Solana, in my opinion.
Well, I just feel like all these other non-institutional facing coins are just a waste of time right now. I'll say it. It's a waste of time.
Okay.
They'll get rotated into. They will do well. I just think you're going to have an easier time sleeping at night in the larger caps that have attention. And you could say the same thing about DOT, which also looks it's bounced. It doesn't get the juices flowing like some of these other charts.
Yeah, ghost chains are a challenge.
Who uses DOT? Why? Does it matter? Probably not. But I don't hear anybody talking on Polkadot anymore. Anybody? Maybe we're early on Polkadot. Near had that falling out with Jump. I think was it Jump or somebody else?
Yeah, I think it was Jump.
Something about buying a stable coin at a certain price and they didn't, and I don't know. But DOT, Near, AVAX, all the same chart to me. So we'll see. Maybe people rotate from Solana into this other junk, but
I don't need. Maybe this does Monero still trade on Kraken?
Yeah,
that's an interesting one. The weekly chart. I mean, huge consolidation.
Yeah, I like this a lot. It looks like ETH in that it has its ascending triangle. The problem with Monero is it's just not traded most places, so it's hard for Monero to catch a bid.
Talking about Monero as an American is basically a Kraken advertisement.
Well, it's the same thing with the UK and the same thing with Asia. It's delisted from most of those exchanges.
Yeah,
it's so good at privacy. They're worried about.
It's a coin that does its job, and therefore they don't like it.
Yeah.
I wanted to pull up my version of it just because the 200-week, 20-week thing. This is one of my favorite setups. Talking about laggards, right? Like my personal willingness to trade a laggard every now and then. This might get me motivated, to be honest. I quite like this.
Unfortunately, is this going to outperform ADA or DOT or Luna or not Luna?
That's the problem. My thing is though, like like to your point earlier, I can sleep holding Monero.
Yeah, I think there's a lot less risk in Monero versus those other layer ones. You're probably not going to make as much money.
Ramblob, nothing is wrong with Kraken in the US. It's just, I say it's basically an advertisement because that's the only place I know that you can trade Monero on chain or off chain is on Kraken as an American citizen.
Yeah, Kraken's great.
I love Kraken's principled stance on things, and I think this falls very in line with that. I'm sure they've had pressure to delist this.
I'm surprised it's still there, to be honest.
Yeah, that's probably your biggest risk with this, actually, is some authority wins trying to get it delisted.
I don't know if you saw this week, but they're trying to pass a bill in the United States that would delist Chinese blockchains and also Tether, because they need to find a way to get rid of Tether.
Okay.
So they're going to continue to try to get rid of Tether, I think, on US exchanges.
You're talking about Chinese blockchains. Look at gas. I don't know if this is some kind of exchange scam pump. The gas token.
Yeah, that's
what is this?
A Neo thing, right?
Yes, this is Neo's gas token. I don't know why it has a separate gas token. Great name. Look at this move.
Yeah, to me, this thing has already moved. Like, what is it?
Of course, but like 250 to 2250.
It's probably illiquid, probably a scam pump, like you're saying. Like, look at that volume. Nothing. Right? You can't. I don't know if you can see that. There we go.
The Willy bot.
Nothing.
What's going on there?
No volume. I don't know. Poloniex was hacked today. We didn't talk about that.
Yeah.
So to the surprise of probably 0 people, by the way.
I don't understand that exchange.
114 million apparently.
Is Justin Sun just going to cover it?
I think, they're not going to. No user on the exchange is going to lose any money, is what he said. But they're going to make everybody whole. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with this gas token. No idea.
Okay. Signs. There are signs of NFTs bottoming.
Are there?
Yeah.
Should we bring up the is there some NFT, what is it? NFT floor prices or something? NFT price floor?
I mean, Flip has those, but we don't have like super advanced charts for looking over the course of a year across the market or something like nerdy like that. Anecdotally, the volume is nerdy. We do have some good charts. I'm not trying to discount our own charts, but more anecdotally, like Gordon Goner has been buying up a bunch of stuff. He's the Bored Ape founder. He's been buying some grails.
I just can't keep up. There's like an infinite supply of total trash, so it's hard for me to really know. But it looks like Bored Apes are up, Penguins are up.
Yeah.
CryptoPunks are up from the floor. What else is important that people care about? Doodles? Are you a doodler?
No. The
Doodles are up a little bit.
Yeah. This is one of those, like, the 1% after down 99%. Some of these got hit pretty hard. Like Doodles, I don't remember where it topped out, but it was high. I think the ones that are interesting are when CryptoPunks or Bored Apes are recovering after a long time in the dump.
Yeah, all I usually see these days is CryptoPunk sales because they're so high in value. But it looks like
here's a chart. We do have some here. I was giving Flip a hard time. My own company. But here's a 1-year chart for Bored Apes. So looks like it's bottoming. It's obviously way away from where it, you might want it to be, but
well, contrast that with those under the floor sales in like earlier in the year.
yeah,
you're not really seeing that anymore.
Yeah. I don't know what affects these. Maybe those are hacks. Like, I don't understand what that is, but activity charts way up.
Yeah, it looks like the punks are moving, but the other stuff, yeah, I don't know. I don't know anything about NFTs. It's all you. So
I mean, for the sake of my business, I would love to see NFT activity pick up. For the industry itself, like I think if this gets out ahead of itself, that's not great. For the same reason that Doge going up would not be great.
looking at the watch market, the watch index for premium watches, that's continuing to make lows here. Which
That's
to me
not
is
surprising.
well, to me it's a good like NFT proxy, because I feel like the type of people that buy NFTs are also like in the watch market. That isn't a slight against anybody. I'm just saying.
Yeah, that's fair.
Watchcharts.com. Anyway,
A lot of people are using Blur as a proxy for NFTs as well. Blur's way off the lows.
Yeah, we talked about that in the post stream last week.
Yeah, it bottomed at 15 cents and it's at 38, so over a 2x off the lows. So we'll see. They also took OpenSea laid off half their staff. Blur took a ton of their volume, so they might have good reasons to be doing well.
Yeah, it feels like it's a warm ball of money.
Yeah.
Not a boil, not a hot ball yet, not a surface of the sun ball of money, but we're getting there.
Do you think the NASDAQ could hit all-time highs?
I mean, we've talked about this. At this point, I think everybody has talked about the cup and handle.
I mean, it looks really, really good. This is big bear cope if that breaks up.
I always think about the politics of everything. I don't know why, but I can't help it.
Yeah, it's really hard for me to believe in price exploration on this, but I guess it's possible.
Like if S&P and NASDAQ make highs, is Biden more likely to get reelected? What does inflation look like? Are the macro doomers going to be pissed that they're wrong again?
Well, that's always going to be the case.
There's people have called for recession since the beginning of the year, saying we're going to go to lows, blah 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 blah. Right? They're still calling for that, and yet they've been wrong the entire time. I'm not saying that won't happen. I'm just saying like trade the market you have, not the market you hope you had.
We talked about, both of us have talked about having some cash on the sidelines in case stocks went further down. I think we both also have high beta exposure via crypto, so it's not like we missed a lot in that. But I'm pretty tempted to increase my exposure if we break out of this.
I will happily buy the highs. Happily. Okay.
Yeah, that's essentially what I'm saying. Like,
I'm not afraid. Don't let that Tumor Macro podcast scare you. That isn't to say we can't.
I could buy a breakout above here, or I could also buy like the 200-week moving average 10% below here, or 15% below here, whichever it is.
I mean, we still have people calling for a retest of the COVID lows. Still,
that's asking for a lot.
Now, admittedly, a lot of these lower cap companies like PayPal and who else, they have done that, right? But
yeah, the equal weighted S&P, for example, still not good, right?
No. Breadth is terrible. Earnings expectations are in delusion land. I get it. I understand. But the chart's the chart.
This chart's not near as good as what we just looked at. Like this is equal weighted S&P.
I mean, Microsoft hit an all-time high today, right?
Yeah. Take a look at.
And there's a cup and handle. If you don't want to trade the Qs, look at that cup and handle on Microsoft. Insane.
Yeah.
Gold is pissed.
I mean, it's already going now.
Gold is pissed that Microsoft broke out first. This is a great looking cup and handle. It is almost textbook cup and handle.
RN, whoever this is, they're speaking for anyone who has traded precious metals. Yeah, silver are going to go up at some point, but damn, how much time will it take? And then some emoji that's like head and hands. That's what it's like to be a precious metals owner right there.
Well, I see the macro people and I just laugh because they sound like altcoin people, where they're like, the alt season's coming any day now. All these central banks are buying all gold. Meanwhile, gold selling off this week again.
Looks terrible.
It looks just gross, right?
I mean, it's still a good chart. That's not. It looks terrible related to what everything else did. Like everybody else is making money and you're not. type of thing. Like it should have just broke out. Just break out.
Silver's the same. Just going nowhere fast.
Yeah. The Russell 2000 looks wretched.
Yeah, if you don't have AI in your game plan, good night.
The whole Russell 2000 is just a value trap.
Seems like it. I don't know. It just amazes me that we still see people talking about certain things in the economy or whatever. It's like, yeah, that might be true, but have you looked at a Microsoft chart? Like, I don't know what to tell you. Have you looked at a Solana chart?
What we really need is the bond bull market to be back, Josh. That's the greatest sign that we're going to make it.
Solana is up 150% in 20 days.
Yeah.
And you're telling me I'm supposed to pretend that there's some sort of recession that's here and I should trade that and buy bullets and gold and whatever. I don't know. Whatever. I'm done. There's a time and a place for that, but man, Trader's going to trade. By the way, Saylor is up over $1 billion on his Bitcoin position.
I mean, how many billions did he buy? Like, what's his cost? What's his basis total?
His basis total
dollar amount, like not how many like he's up $1 billion. What percentage is that?
25%.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a terrific gamble in the sense that if he's right, it's an absolute kingmaker.
Well, he's like Cathie Wood. He's not going to take profit ever, right? When it makes sense to. ARK still loading the boat with a bunch of junk, absolute junk. I do not understand what's going on over there.
I don't even know what they're buying.
Just the worst of the worst. I don't even know. Anyway, I don't have much else to say. Look at Zoom. Absolutely crushed.
I mean, they had their panacea. Is that the right word? Like everyone's locked at home and trying to work and had to use this product. How's it going to ever get better than that?
Well, I mean, Microsoft just bundled it in, right? Same thing with Instagram and Reels. Just bundled in Snapchat, or not Snapchat, TikTok,
Yeah,
whatever.
But TikTok's already big.
Yeah, but
Snapchat was the loser on that one.
The Reels section of Instagram's popping off for sure. This also has a case for cup and handle. I put this at number 2 amongst the Mag 7.
This is an incredible recovery. I mean, people were so bearish Facebook at the bottom.
Looks great. It doesn't look great is Tesla. Tesla looks kind of angry.
Tesla will do this though. Remember when it did this for like 6 years? Like, no, that's not a chart pattern. That's a random walk of crap.
Well, this is the crypto folks getting washed out right here.
Right. But I'm talking about the last,
And then this is M for murder up here. This to me is what ETH BTC is going to look like. You know,
I think this could be 150 to 250 for 4 years.
yeah, I think I agree with you. That's
what
next
it
report.
did. If you go way back, do like a quarterly chart. Yeah, see that? It's gonna do that again.
This stuff.
All that years. That's 2014 to 2020. Tesla prices in perfection, and then has to spend forever getting to it. And the challenge they're going to face this time is they may succeed. They may become this super dominant car manufacturer. But then if they stop being valued like a tech company, they got to do even more, like if they start being valued like a car company. So they have to continuously reinvent themselves to catch up to their valuation that crazy people priced in. And that's not easy. And I think you could just end up underperforming for a very long time, even as you live up to what people previously priced in.
This is Ford. imagine holding this from 87.
1987 is the same dollar value.
You're flat since
What's
87.
the dividend?
I have no idea. Just
better be like 10%.
I don't know. Last thing I'll say, I think ETH is still one of the best trades, if not the best trade, because of the BlackRock stuff.
What is the discount on ETH?
It is at, I have it here. It is at 13-14%. Closed a lot this week. Closed 10% this week, but
yeah.
I think this is a phenomenal trade. I think ETH is a phenomenal trade. I do not think Sol or Link are a phenomenal trade here, unfortunately. Bitcoin is also a phenomenal trade relative to the
We got asked if ETH is liquid. I think it's liquid enough for most of us.
For anybody in this chat, it's liquid enough. Yeah, no, ETH, top of the cloud for those listening is 26. It's at 17, so that's a 50% move from here at 17. I don't know. This chart has looked good for a long time. Just finally, it took it a while to break out, and now with BlackRock as a tailwind, looks really good. GBTC, on the other hand, you've kind of missed it, in my opinion. The edge-to-edge move, I still think this is going to have a crazy move higher on the announcement of the ETF approval for BlackRock, and then I think GBTC the trade's over.
Yeah,
like it may keep going, it may range. I don't know. I don't care about them converting. I don't care about any of that. This discount is at around 10%. So yeah, those two look good. Coin, real quick, just kind of flat. But if BlackRock is buying BTC through Coin, Coinbase, they're going to be buying ETH through Coinbase too, right?
Flat, but 100 has kind of been its spot that it struggled to get beyond. And I like Coin if it breaks 100. That 150 area is nice. Your target even goes higher. Am I crazy to think this looks a little bit like an inverted head and shoulders?
Yeah, it definitely had. The thing about this is it hit its inverted head and shoulders breakout target like immediately, and then has done a bunch of nothing. I don't know if like price on this 200. I don't know. But if crypto does well, people are going to trade this, right? You'd think, but hey, I could be wrong. I think Coinbase is a trash company. I think their exchange is trash. Okay, wow. I'm not saying they're good at anything, but from an exposure perspective,
I've gained a lot of respect for Coinbase because they've lasted, and they have the most regulatory scrutiny as a public company of anyone. They've fought for things that I think are important over the past couple of years. I think they've made a ton of mistakes over the years, but I think that they've really come around on me.
That's fair. They've done plenty right, but they've done plenty wrong.
Yeah, I just think on balance, I've come around.
Fair enough. Does Base doesn't have a token yet, right?
No, I don't think it's ever.
MetaMask.
It earns fees for Ethereum. It earns fees for Coinbase, and then it sends, activity back to ETH as the native asset. One more stock chart that I don't like. Exxon hasn't really broken down the way gold has, but it looks like it wants to. I think this trade might be over.
Yeah, everybody was super bullish energy kind of at the top, and maybe justifiably so. But if global demand is falling off a cliff, I don't know.
It might just take some time, I guess, is my point. Like I don't see where the case for markup is right this moment.
If you look at XLE had, it might still be holding the ascending triangle, but it's the energy sector ETF. Yeah, if I'm going to trade energy, I'm probably trading this over Exxon. Most of XLE is Exxon anyway, but it still looks fine. I think it needs lots of time, but looks fine.
All right, so let's summarize a little bit. 3K ETH is what you said, right?
3K ETH, yeah.
47K BTC. That would.
I don't know. I believe more in 3K ETH than 47K BTC, but it just depends on that day. It just depends on when we get the news. And I assume it's approval. If it's a denial, then we're in deep shit. If it's a denial, 25K or less. But I just don't. I think there's like a 2% chance that's going to be a denial.
Based on what you're saying, you think ETH BTC probably bottomed? Probably maintained 0.06 or better?
I wouldn't say that. I think it temporarily bounced. I think it does go lower. I think 05. I think we do see less than 05 between now and April. Okay. So I don't think this is a bottom.
Sounds good. I'm into it. Thanks, Bit, for saying nice mustache ledger. I should have done this before Halloween and gone as Nick Carter for Halloween. I'm doing No Shave November because my kids thought it was funny. So I got neck, beard, and mustache. That's all I can grow.
We do what we can.
We do what we can. Let's end it there.
Sounds good.
Good luck, everybody, on the ETF. We'll catch you soon. Follow Josh at Carpe Noctem. He's doing good videos on YouTube. Follow, that's it. Me on Twitter. Whatever. Later.
Monuments crumble in the blink of an eye. The easy river has just run dry. In a house of cards, I feel the breeze wound so tight I can barely breathe. Oh, the chains, oh, the chains, Lord, the chains, come release me from the chains.